My pleasure today to introduce our speaker, Shanna Hensley. She's a native of Kingsport. Noteworthy is she grew up a half a block from where I did, but she was born after I graduated from UT and already started working in Johnson City. So that tells you how young she is, or how old I am, I guess. But anyway, Shanna's got a BS degree in childhood education from ETSU. She's got a master's in leadership and policy analysis for education from ETSU. She's got an EDS from ETSU, and she hopes to complete a doctorate pretty soon at ETSU. So you can see she's a very dedicated educator. Started her career at Avoca in the Bristol system, came to work at Johnson Elementary here, served as assistant to the principal, went on to Lincoln, served as assistant principal there, then became the principal at Kennedy. And in the spring of 2014, at least, that's when the presentation was. Some that were around the city may have remembered. Probably one of the most impressive presentations I've ever seen. Shanna was on a team that put together the idea about DB Excel, which was unique at that particular time. It was truly one of the most impressive presentations I saw while I was at the city just before I retired. And in the fall of 2014, DB Excel started. At that time, now they've grown to about 240 students, and they have potential to be bigger, but have to get more space. The city will have to help them probably with some more space and all. But in any event, she's been a career educator, done a great job. She's going to be our initial speaker, and then she's going to introduce somebody that we all know very well, and she'll talk about that. One other noteworthy thing I would mention, it's kind of unusual, since Daryl likes unusual facts and stuff. Shanna's family is the first COVID family in Sullivan County, apparently. Not the one, yeah. So she's got an interesting stories about that, how her son caught it in Milan and then brought it back apparently to them. But anyway, it's our pleasure to have Shanna. She's been here long. It's been a while since you've been here. DB Excel is a great program, though. She'll talk about that.
So I'm the principal of DB Excel. I actually have with me one of our superstars, if I can get this going, Miss Antonia Adinofi. And I know I've already talked with one of you, but if some of you are interested in coming and helping with some of the projects, she would be someone that you would want to speak with about that. This is their contact information. I think I may have a business card or two with me. If I don't, I will share my information with you, and you're more than welcome to get a hold of me at any time. So John asked me to come and talk about the journey of DB Excel and then who we are today. So back in 2004, actually 2013, I was the principal at Kennedy Elementary. I'm very much an outside of the box thinker. Dr. Elshawn, who was our superintendent at the time, came to me and said, I feel like we're underserving about 200 to 250 students at Dobbins-Bennett. I feel like you're a creative thinker, and I would like for you to potentially come on board and start building a program that might be a little more innovative, that we can serve these students in a better way. So in January of 2014, I transitioned from Kennedy to start the program and to start this work. When we first started, we got a group of people together and said, why do we even need something like this anyway? And so there were some big ideas that we captured before we even started looking at the research and maybe what would help us build our program. So what we knew is that we knew we wanted to offer online blended. Believe it or not, we were already using all online programming when COVID hit. And so COVID was very easy for our teachers to transition with their students to working from home. We knew we wanted personalized learning. If we're going to be smaller, we knew that we needed to target those students and get to know them in a meaningful way so that we can help them grow and be productive citizens in Kingsport. We wanted to offer flexible scheduling. We did, but we've had to scale back on some of that because the governor has put some restrictions on the flexible scheduling. But with their flexible scheduling, we do allow students to go to the higher ed center. We're going to have 10 students on Monday start what we call a middle college program, where they'll take their math class with us, they'll transition to the higher ed center, and they will graduate with a 2-year associate's degree before they graduate from Dobbins-Bennett with their high school diploma. So that's an example of some of our flexible scheduling. We knew we wanted to be involved with Kingsport in the community. We've got a great place, and we wanted our students to get involved in some of the things that were going on. We wanted work opportunities for students and to teach them some of those soft skills. I know whenever we met with Eastman going through this work, that was one of the things they talked about is, we need students who will show up on time, who can pass a drug test, who know how to interact with their colleagues. And then ultimately, because we're a school, we wanted to foster that sense of culture, or create a culture of learning and growth. So why did we want to do this? Like I said, we wanted to reach every student. Dobyns-Bennett is a phenomenal school. I went there. I would say most of the people in this room attended Dobyns-Bennett. But there's a small group of kids. DB's big. There's 2,400 students. There's a small group of students who we knew needed something a little bit different. We knew we wanted to transition to more of the 21st century learning, to where that we used online learning a little bit more. We wanted to prepare students not only for college success, but also workforce success, and to make sure that they were workforce ready. So how did we want to do this? We wanted to develop meaningful relationships with students, staff, and other stakeholders, so you all in Kingsport. We wanted to use data to ensure that students were learning at high levels. Anytime you start something new and innovative, your data is going to take a dip, and you hope to springboard from that, and we were able to do that. Perfect personalized learning, what is that and what does that look like? And then to implement project-based learning and ensure that we're giving students quality feedback to extend their understanding of what it is that they're learning. So from that meeting, there were several meetings to discuss all of that. We started digging into the research to see what is out there. What are other places offering across the United States that's a little bit different, and what can we maybe glean from those things and ultimately bring those back to Kingsport and start a program for our students here. And so we took all the research, took us about a year. We studied, there were 5 different schools across the nation who were doing unique things like work-based learning, early college programs, project-based learning. And so we looked at all of those, and we took this research, slide, and we put all of this up on a board in my office. We had this board full. There were many other boards that we had rolled in to help us say, who is it that we want to be? From all of that work, we naturally developed our vision for DB Excel. So if you'll go on to the next slide. Are any of you all, you probably are familiar with the Baldrige work? So we used a little bit of their visioning framework to help us build our vision in Kingsport. So we looked, like I talked about, our guiding tenets. Who are we? What does the research say? What does the findings say from all of that? We developed our visioning model. We looked at the instructional initiatives that we wanted to offer. We looked at the instructional impact. And then launching forward, what were we going to focus on? And we naturally put those into 4 different areas: campus, content, culture, and community. And what's exciting about this, we actually moved into our building in January of 2017. A couple of years ago, we caught up to that vision. So we realized that in order for us to grow and to continue getting better, we needed to update our vision. So if we go to the next slide, this is our updated vision. So if you'll see, we're still true to providing an innovative approach to personalized learning. That was a mission statement that our board charged us with, and it was on our very first visioning model that we developed. And our 4 cornerstones are still the same. So we focus on looking at our campus and offering different scheduling opportunities for students, an innovative environment. I don't know, has anybody been to our building before? It's very different. Daryl knows that. We don't have classroom walls in many of our areas. And the intent behind that is to let kids move fluidly between their classes for some of the project work that they need to do. We have a maker space. Antonia is going to talk about that in a few minutes. And then we offer a lot of early post-secondary opportunities. We don't emphasize AP classes as much where we are. We look for dual enrollment opportunities. Dobyns-Bennett has a phenomenal AP curriculum. And so that's their wheelhouse, and ours is really looking at dual enrollment and how can we help students start to be a college student early so we can teach them how to be successful once they leave us. Looking at our content, our teachers have developed all of their own content, and we house it in Canvas. That's their learning management system, and a lot of universities use Canvas. So if you go to UT, you're going to use Canvas as your learning management system. Blended learning, a lot of people think we are an online school, and we are not. But we are blended. So we use computers to house all of our curriculum. But when you're in school, you're going to be working face-to-face with a teacher, either in a small group, one-on-one with the entire class. And then looking at how can we make cross-curricular connections? So how can we have U.S. history helping English 11? And then how does that factor into STEM 3? So our projects often cross over into the different subjects. We wanted a strong culture because we know a lot of our students are, they don't want to be seen and stand out. And so we wanted to focus on the culture part of that to help build students up. So we do have a student leadership team. We're in the process right now of taking new applicants for that. Student and teacher mentorships are very strong. I think that if you were to talk to our students, every student would have a staff member who they feel like they could go to. We have a parent advisory committee, so we don't have a PTO or a PTA, but we do have what we call PAC, which is our parent advisory committee. And then we have about 10 after-school activities that students can participate in. In terms of the community, we have lots of work-based learning opportunities that our students can participate in throughout Kingsport. We offer internships through the projects. Instead of always sending your kids out, we will have community members come in and start their project work with us, and then we'll get the kids out into the community. And then looking at service learning, how can we ultimately get that? You do have to get the same requirement or graduation requirements at DV Excel that you do at Dobbins Bennett. So if you come to us, you are going to get 28 credit hours. We offer the same English credits, the same math. Obviously, we can't offer as many math classes because we don't have as many personnel as DV. Our science track, we have 4 STEM classes. We have biology, chemistry, intro to engineering, and principles of engineering. Social studies, we have world history, government, U.S. history, personal finance, and economics. And then the other courses that we have, digital arts 1, 2, 3, and 4, and that the hub of that really is centered around Adobe Creative Suite. So our students are going to be very skilled in that to be able to create presentations, flyers, different pieces of work. So along with their professional communications 1 and 2. I don't know if you all have ever seen the team takeover page in the Times News, but that's our students that do that. An example of how that project works, we actually take a field trip to the Times News. The kids get to learn all about the Times News, all the different departments they have there. They get to know the people. The editors, they pitch ideas to our kids about what they want us to focus on, and then our kids take that back and start writing articles. Then back and forth will be communication between the teacher, the student, and whoever the writer is at the paper. And then the final product is actually going to be submitted in the Times News. And it's really been impactful to a lot of our kids and even a lot of the parents who were like, I can't believe that my child had a half a page article written and posted in the Kingsport Times News. So it's really a powerful way to get them involved in Kingsport and to feel really good about what they're doing. If it's got the little asterisk, we do offer an honors level of that course. So, and we have many students who complete the honors level work. So there's not many of those courses, but there's probably about 8 or 10 of those where you can get the honors credit. We have 14 staff members who are certified staff members through the state of Tennessee. We have 2 STEM and science teachers. We have 3 math teachers, 2 English, 2 social studies, a digital arts, a special education teacher. We have an interventionist. We have an assistant principal, and then we have me that's there. Then we have 6 instructional assistants who are on staff with us as well. Currently, we have about 240 students. John was asking me how many we started with. I'm going to say that it was around 15 to 20 students way back when. By the end of this school year, we will have served around 240 or 250 to 275 students. We may graduate some in December, which means that we can take more students in January. So that's kind of how that works. There is a process for enrollment. So because we're limited with the number of students we take, we can't take everybody. There's a process for that. So students, when they're in 8th grade, come over and visit our campus in the spring of their 8th grade year, and that gives them kind of an idea of who we are. We actually work through a project with them to give them an idea of the work that they're going to be doing. They then will go back and often complete an application that gets sent to their school counselor. Their school counselor will send that to our assistant principal. We require everybody to take a tour of our campus before we'll even look at your application because our environment is so different and we want the parent and the child to know what you're signing up for because it's not a traditional setting, and we want you to know that before you commit to coming to us. From that point, Dr. Redke sits with the student's counselor and the parents, and we talk about, is this going to be a good fit for your child? And that's how we get students who come to us. We turn away very few students every year. I mean, probably 5 or fewer. So the majority of the students who want to come to us, we're able to take them. We can't grow larger at this point for a couple of reasons. Number one, the state of Tennessee will only let so many students be assigned to one teacher each block, and we would need more staff members. But then we also need additional space, and additional space is built out in order for us to take more students at this time. So I'm going to turn it over to Antonia. She is our chemistry and STEM 1, 2, 3, and 4 teacher.
So Shannon mentioned we have transformed the vision into what we once were. My students would probably say that I'm like OG because I was part of that transition process. And it's really amazing to see where we started and where we are now, like to be part of that process. And as a result of that, we have really worked on creating a STEM identity at DBXL. And because of that, it has had a much greater impact on students. I feel like that they are much more aware about what options are available to them. Many of our students would not choose to do STEM. And I think it's because they think that they're not great at something. They think that they are not great at math or science, so therefore they cannot participate in a STEM course or they can't do STEM. So what we really try to do at DBXL is give our students access. So we are very much a STEM for all school, I feel like, at least from my perspective. We believe that all students deserve to learn at high levels, no matter their learning style or their learning abilities. And so our job then is to get them there and to where they need to be. And we do that through the STEM practices. We believe that there's a set of STEM practices that all scientists and engineers do, and that to be successful in the real world, students really need access to that, and they need to practice doing those things so that they can understand and say, hey, yeah, this is STEM, but look what I'm doing, and I can be successful at critical thinking and problem solving. So, yeah, thank you. So with an intro to kind of career awareness and also with some other things, community partnerships that she's already mentioned, work-based learning. Also, we do something called a statewide design challenge. This is something that the TSIN, which is the STEM network, puts out every year. The statewide design challenge, every year they choose to do something that's aligned to one of the 17 sustainable development goals. Is anybody familiar with the 17 sustainable development goals?
Could you explain STEM to us?
Yes, absolutely. So STEM stands for science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. But really and truly, STEM is much more than those 4 subjects. Those 4 subjects are at the cornerstone of STEM. But embedded within those classes are a set of key practices. For example, like developing models, computational thinking, which is literally just breaking down a problem. That's also part of computer science as well. And I guess at the root, you've got the critical thinking and problem solving that's part of that and those practices, but we also bring in communication or aspects of communication. So most of our students, by the time they leave us and they graduate, they're communicators. They know how to do a presentation. And a lot of that work is done through our project-based learning activities that we have in our courses and our cross-curricular. Does that answer your question?
I'd like to know how many of your percentage of students out of this program go on to university?
Do you have the data?
So we graduate about 60 students every year, and because we're lumped in with Dobbins-Bennett, we don't get an official report back. All of our data goes into Dobbins-Bennett's database. They get back a report that's called, it's escaping me now, but it's a 6-year report that tells you where students are 6 years after they graduate from high school. As far as we know, we have about 60% of our students who do leave us, and we know that they've enrolled somewhere. That could be a TCAT, that could be Northeast State. We have kids that this past school year that have gone to Tennessee Tech, Milligan, ETSU. So it's a little bit harder for us to track post graduation, but I can tell you that we have around 60% of our students who do go into something. And we have a lot through the internships that they have in high school. They may go ahead and go into the workforce.
So STEM at DBXL, like I said, is through project-based learning, but it's more than just taking field trips. It's more than just going and visiting or maybe doing a virtual reality Google tour or something like that. It really is immersive. And through our projects, again, we bring in mentors. I try to target experts in the field that are related to the concepts that we are doing. And I mentioned before about the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. Those are 17 goals that the United Nations identified. And every, I think it's 10, 20, it's probably 20 years. I think they're coming up with the next round of those goals, maybe in 2030 is when the next set comes into play. But those goals kind of drive a lot of the project-based learning. And so they're not only global challenges, but most of those are very unique and can also be tailored to our community. And
talk about the statewide design challenge that you all just completed.
Okay.
This spring.
So last year, case in point, last year we did a statewide design challenge on energy, ensuring access to all, and how can we be more energy efficient. So it was a very hard concept, really to wrap your head around, because many students actually have no clue. And I think even we could probably even go as far as saying adults too, have no clue that everything that we do is driving energy higher and higher. Like, I can reduce my power bill if I do this, that, and the other. If I just focus on and be more intentional about how much energy I'm consuming. And we live in a tech-driven world, right? We have a digital ecosystem at our fingertips. So we're always on our devices, but we're all really contributing to global warming in some capacity. And so students investigated that concept. I brought in probably someone that you're very familiar with, Dave Ribnack. He was my expert. He's like the green energy guru. So I brought him in. He gave an awesome presentation to my students and gave them some really key jumping off points that they could focus on and a path that they could take to develop a solution for. Every year that we have done this, we have had students who have advanced. We did have a team that did advance to the state level competition. They did not win this year. That's okay. They did learn a lot. And they actually developed a marketing program that could be implemented in our elementary school. So we actually partnered with Washington Elementary to potentially develop some curriculum, because energy is not part of the K-5 curriculum. And so that was something we talked about, maybe doing that with their related arts class. So that's just one example of things that we do. I had another year, I had a student that prototyped, it was for the Shark Tank, which I had mentioned, or we had on the slide a minute ago, but she prototyped a device that would increase privacy in the bathrooms, because most bathroom stalls have a gap between the wall and the door. And with, privacy concerns and gender neutral issues and things, she was like, I want to come up with something. So she came up with a privacy screen that was portable, it was mobile, and it could retract, so you wouldn't have to worry about that, and it was antimicrobial as well. And she pitched that idea to a panel of judges, which is typically the culminating event of my project. I bring in experts as judges, and students have to pitch their ideas or present their project to industry partners. And she actually had someone from the chamber, and she pulled out her purse and was like, I'm going to give you a check for this, let's patent this. She decided not to pursue that, but it has potential. These projects really have potential to take students somewhere, or they give students the opportunity to do great things. And I feel like, from a personal perspective, and maybe I'm a little biased, but these are not opportunities that students would get in a traditional classroom. So that's what sets us apart, is that we're constantly looking at providing opportunities for students that transcend the classroom and that are really going to set them up for success in the future. And hopefully they'll stay in Kingsport as well. So at DBXO, we have STEM and a communications pathway, which is digital arts. And those go hand in hand. So students use the skills that they learn using Adobe Creative Suite to produce marketing materials and things like that. They use those in all of our classes. They
Like
use
the Twilight Alive, you all probably seen that. Our students developed that logo for the chamber. And so, I mean, that was on billboards. The one that is down here at the bottom, it was the Saturday in the Gardens. Have any of you all participated in that through the chamber? This was actually entered into a nationwide design challenge for how the design work looks. A couple of years ago, we got a call from Nashville that heard we had a strong digital arts program. I don't know if you all know this, but every Christmas, someone is asked out of that state to decorate the state's Christmas tree. And so our school actually got to develop, design, go to Washington, D.C. for the ceremony, the Tennessee Christmas tree, which was a pretty big event because a lot of our kids haven't been out of the area. So the fact that they got to go to Washington, D.C. was a pretty big deal. And it was a special event.
That's a huge event.
That is a huge.
Not pretty big, it's a huge.
Well, when I got that email from Nashville, I was like, is this spam? Like, are we really being asked to create these? And so we ended up having some conversations back and forth with them, and they were like, no, we've seen on Twitter and Facebook. We love Twitter and Facebook, by the way. We post all of our stuff on there. They said, we've seen the design work that you all do, and no one's ever taken the Christmas ornaments and used a digital design to create that kind of ornament. So our students were able to do that. We didn't take everybody, but we did take about 6 or 7 of the ones that went. But it was a pretty big deal, and our kids loved it. It was great. But that's some examples of, the chamber's getting some free design work, but more importantly, our kids are getting the experience of working with someone in the community and knowing how to take feedback. A lot of kids don't know how to take feedback. When you tell me my design doesn't look good, my reaction is to be defensive sometimes. But how can I take that feedback, listen to it, and ultimately improve my project so that it meets your need, and I feel really good about the work that I've completed. So we do have a strong digital arts program, and they do a lot of things for places in Kingsport. So if you all ever need help with design, we've even had companies call us and say, we can't afford to have someone build or design a logo for us. Could we come and talk to you all about what we're wanting, and then maybe some of your kids could meet the needs for us on that? And so we've been able to do that. So there's lots of different ways that we can partner with you to be able to do some of the things that we do. Antonia, she talked about the statewide design challenge. They've had it the state has probably had that for 5 or 6 years. And of those 5 or 6 years, she's had 3 kids take first place in the entire state. So it's all about design thinking. When you think STEM, think about design thinking. Are you all familiar with that? That's a process for problem solving. You have to think about your problem. You have to brainstorm solutions. You have to research what it is you're trying to do. You build something. You get feedback. You have to go through several iterations of that before you finally get to your end result. And so that really, when you think about STEM at DBE, it's all about going through that process and knowing that the first time you try something and it doesn't work, that's okay. That's normal life. We're just going to keep trying to see if we can figure out what it is we need to do to have the product work the way that we need it to.
Quick question.
Yes.
Extracurricular activities that you have in this group, number 1.
Yeah.
Number 2, is there a relationship between STEM and knowledge development in these activities? And number 3,